Hello, Cinemaster lovers. Welcome back. I hope you're ready for an exciting experience because we've got something special for you today. Get comfortable, grab your snacks, and let's dive right into the action. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Let's get started. Let me remind you of the events of the first part of Squid Game series where we saw Seong, a poor man who wanted to have money. Suddenly, someone came to him and offered him to participate in a game called Squid Game, where he could win a lot of money. Of course, Seong agreed, and he became player number 456. He discovered that many people participated in the game. All of them were poor and in debt, and losing in this game meant death. Game after game, Seong managed to endure and reach the end, and after he won, he discovered that the old man, number 1, who was with him in the game, was one of the businessmen who originally designed the game and the mastermind behind everything. The old man died after the game due to a brain tumor, so Seong decided to take revenge on all of them for what he saw in this game. The events of the second part begin with Seong, who dyed his hair red and was leaving the airport to cancel his trip to see his daughter. At that moment, he gets a call from an unknown person asking him why he didn't board the plane and travel to his daughter in America. Seong tells him that he won't travel because he's going to search for them and take revenge. After that, Seong goes to a supermarket, enters a bathroom, and discovers something buried under his skin behind his ear. He grabs a blade, cuts himself, and removes it, finding a small piece of metal that looks like a GPS device. At the same time, we see Jun-ho, the policeman, waking up from a coma, and we learn that he's still alive. This is after he participated in the Squid Game while undercover as an employee in the game to look for his older brother. He collected all the evidence and photos of the violations happening in the game, but he discovered that the supervisor was his older brother, who decided to shoot him with a gun to prevent the game's secrets from being exposed to the public. 2 years later, we see the policeman Jun-ho working as a traffic officer. He stopped a man on a bike with his girlfriend, refusing to let him go without a helmet and insisting on giving him a ticket. His girlfriend tries to convince Jun-ho to take back the ticket, but he hands it to her and leaves her alone in the street as punishment for opposing him. Later, Jun-ho is sitting with his boss at work, arguing and fighting because he left his position in the investigation and crimes department and decided to become a traffic officer. This is all because no one believed him about the deadly game he saw, where participants die if they lose. When asked if he remembers who shot him, Jun-ho remains silent, becomes tense, and says he didn't see who shot him at the time. At night, Seong dreams that the Squid Game supervisor has reached his location with 2 heads of his colleagues who were with him in the game. He wakes up terrified and notices that his hair is black again. At that moment, the doorbell rings. He first looks at the surveillance cameras he installed and sees Woo Seok, who owed him a large sum of money. After paying off his debts with the prize money he won, he rented Woo Seok to find the salesman who stands at the subway station to lure people into participating in the game. Woo Seok tells Seong that they've been searching for the salesman for 2 years with no trace. But Seong insists they continue the search because the game is still ongoing. He gives Woo Seok more money to continue the search with his men. After Woo Seok leaves, he gets into his car with his team and intensifies the search. One of his men comments that Seong seems crazy because they've been searching for 2 years for someone who doesn't exist. But Woo Seok believes Seong because people who owed him money suddenly disappeared under strange circumstances. Not only does he believe him, but Seong also pays them large sums of money to find the person they're looking for. If they find him, they'll get 1 billion won, the Korean currency. This excites Woo Seok's men, and they become enthusiastic. The next day, Woo Seok gathers his men to share the information they have about the salesman they're searching for. They spread out across subway stations, asking people if they've encountered someone offering them to join the game. They check everyone wearing suits and carrying black bags. Meanwhile, Jun-ho searches all the islands surrounding the sea, as the game's location has changed, and he wants to find out where it is now. Unfortunately, he doesn't find anything. Days pass, and the situation remains the same. No one finds anything new. One night, while Woo Seok is sitting at a subway station, frustrated with one of his men, they suddenly spot the salesman they've been searching for. They see him playing with someone exactly as Seong described. Woo Seok quickly calls Seong to inform him that they've found the salesman. Seong is shocked, grabs his gun, and moves quickly, asking Woo Seok to keep monitoring him. The salesman approaches the poor and homeless, offering them a choice between bread and a lottery card. Most choose the card but don't win. Suddenly, he stands before them all, throws the bread on the ground, steps on it, and tells them they wasted the food in their hands, choosing the card but not winning. Everyone is shocked by his behavior. Woo Seok films him with his phone, follows him, and tails him in a taxi to avoid losing him. When they get out, the salesman notices them and violently attacks both Woo Seok and his companion. Meanwhile, Seong is stopped by traffic police for speeding. He accepts the ticket silently and drives off. At that moment, Junho's colleague tells him that this person is very strange. When Junho sees the ticket and the name on it, he is shocked to see Seong's name. He searches for Seong in the civil registry and confirms through his photo that Seong participated in the Squid Game. Shortly after, Seong arrives at Woo-seok's location but doesn't find him, only blood at the scene. He realizes that the salesman he's looking for has kidnapped them. Later, we see the salesman has tied up Woo-seok and his companion in chairs, gagging them. He decides to play a game with them, telling them that the loser will have the gun pointed at their head. Either the bullet hits them and they die, or they get a new chance at life. Both are terrified and trembling with fear. Woo-seok loses, and the salesman kills him. At the same time, Junho arrives at the place where Woo-seok works and discovers that he is looking for the Squid Game sales representative. He hides when someone enters the location, and as soon as they leave, he resumes searching and finds a file about Seong in the drawer. At that moment, Seong returns to his residence and is shocked to find the sales representative waiting for him. He asks Seong why he didn't board the plane and leave after winning the game. Seong replies that he wanted to meet him first to thank him for letting him participate in the game, which made him wealthy. He requests to meet the people in charge of the game to thank them personally. The sales representative reveals that one day, he discovered his father was in the game and had to kill him with a bullet to the head because he lost. Since then, he realized that this job suited him perfectly. He then asks Seong if he thinks he's special for winning the game. Seong responds that he wouldn't understand his feelings or how he won unless he participated in the game. The sales representative suggests they play a game, placing one bullet in the gun and spinning it to see who gets lucky. During the game, the sales representative tells Seong that if he wants to meet the person in charge of the game, he must find the key and kill him without playing around. But he must first admit that he is as corrupt as everyone else. Seong ignores his words and continues playing, calling the sales representative a dog obedient to his master, ultimately just a worthless dog. When it's the sales representative's turn, the bullet hits him, and he dies. At that moment, Junho is in his car after finding out Seong's location and hears the gunshot. He rushes in and searches for Seong in all the building's rooms. He finds Woo-seok's assistant tied up, stripped, and lying on the bed. He learns his name is Kim and asks him about Seong, discovering he's in room 410. Junho goes to Seong and finds the sales representative's body. He arrests Seong on suspicion of murder. However, at the same time, Kim hits Junho on the head and tells Seong that he is Woo-seok's assistant. He reveals that Woo-seok was killed by the sales representative. At that moment, Seong has a special card for the Squid Game, which he found in the sales representative's pocket, with an address written on it. Later, Junho regains consciousness after being struck. Seong sits with him, trying to find out how he knows about him. They recall the night of the fight at the game's dormitory when the masked men intervened to stop the brawl. Seong is shocked and realizes Junho was one of the game's staff. Junho explains that he infiltrated them to find his brother, but Seong doesn't believe him. Junho tells him he once asked if he knew someone named Inho, as that would be his brother. Seong remembers one of the masked men asking him about Inho and asks Junho about the man who was killed. He learns it was the sales representative who lured players into the game and killed himself during the game he played with him. Junho also reveals that he is looking for the game's organizers to take revenge and stop them. He tells Seong he saw the game's leader when he worked as a staff member. The leader always wore a black mask. Seong decides to search for him alone. Junho tells him the old man, contestant number 1, said the game was created for clients, and if they reached the clients, the game would end. Junho shares that he also wants to find them because he can't forget his brother, just as Seong likely can't forget the people who died in the game. He offers to help. Later, Seong takes Junho and Kim to the room where he keeps the money he won from the game. He shows them the weapons he has collected over 2 years to prepare for confrontation and the secret place where he trained to use them. Seong asks Junho to resign from his job. Then, Seong goes to a broker to help people migrate and asks him to bring Sae-byuk's mother from North Korea to South Korea. He learns she was released but is ill due to tuberculosis in prison, and the process will take time. Seong offers him any amount of money he needs and gives him a paper with the address of his mother's fish shop, telling him if he can't find her, he'll find her brother Sae-byuk there. Afterwards, Seong meets a young woman named Naeol, who is searching for her 1-year-old daughter in North Korea. The broker tells her it's impossible for a 1-year-old child to survive in North Korea without her parents and reminds her she fled after shooting her boss at work, making her a criminal. He apologizes for his harsh words, acknowledging how difficult it is for a mother to forget her child, but tells her she must try, as her daughter is likely dead. That night, Naeol sits in her car, holding a photo of her daughter and husband, crying. Suddenly, a mysterious person knocks on her car window and hands her a Squid Game card, leaving her astonished. The next morning, Junho visits the cemetery to see his late wife's grave, placing flowers as his brother used to. When he returns home, he sits with his mother, who sadly tells him she feels his brother no longer wants to live with them. She fears he's leaving because he thinks she favors Junho over him, since Junho is her son, while his brother is her husband's son. She suspects he has been upset since his wife's death, as he couldn't help her when she was ill because he donated his kidney to Junho when he was sick. Junho tells her it's clear his brother hates him because he could have sold his kidney to pay for his wife's treatment. He gets angry at his mother for always making him feel guilty. Meanwhile, Nail resigns from her job, which involved working with a children's costume troupe at an amusement park. As she leaves, she sees an ambulance carrying a sick little girl named Nayeon, whose father is devastated with worry. Nayeol decides to visit the hospital, overhearing the doctor informing Nayeon's father that she has leukemia, and, unfortunately, her insurance won't cover the treatment costs. Nayeol sneaks into Nayeon's room, holding her hand lovingly and leaving her a paper airplane. She then calls the number on the Squid Game card, telling the person who answers that she wants to participate in the game. She provides her name and birth date and is given the address where she will wait to be picked up for the game. At the same time, we see Seong going to a doctor to have one of his teeth removed. He replaces it with a fake tooth. There is a GPS inside it, and Kim calculates it and asks him to stay silent and not speak. Seong and his team see the men Kim brought to help with the plan, and Kim introduces them as former members of the Korean Army Special Forces. Seong gets to know their leader, Kim, and they agree on the plan for him and his team. He goes to the address on the game card he had and is surprised that everyone is in disguise. They realize it's Halloween. He enters the party venue and waits for them in the car, monitoring them through the tracking device he placed in his tooth. Suddenly, he sees people in red and white masks and knows they are from the Squid Game. He talks to Kim to warn him and tries to enter the party, threatening one of the guards with a gun to get in. During the party, a game employee approaches Kim and electroweights him. Meanwhile, Song follows one of them and finds a white car waiting, gets in, and goes with them. Junho sees him and asks Kim's leader and his team to follow the white car. In the car, Song finds headphones shaped like a teddy bear, and the game leader speaks to him, telling him he should have traveled to his daughter. But Song firmly replies, asking him to stop the game. The leader tells him that all participants joined willingly, and Seong objects, saying he exploits people's need for money and plays with their emotions to make them join. They pull out a gun and try to kill the driver, but the officials tell them it's not going to happen. Meanwhile, a sniper shoots at the tires of Kim's team's car to prevent them from following the car with Seong. At that moment, Seong decides to participate in the game again. When the leader is surprised, Seong provokes him, saying he's surely afraid to lose to him like the old man. Number 1. The leader agrees to his request, and at that moment, a sedative gas is released in the car. We discover that the game leader has come next to the driver, wearing his black mask, and welcomes Seong, number 456, back to the game. At the same time, we see Neil wearing the Squid Game uniform. The next day, Seong wakes up in the Squid Game building, lying on his bed in a player's suit, seeing the other participants waking up around him. At that moment, the game employees enter, dressed in red suits and masks, informing them they will participate in 6 different games over 6 days. The winner of all 6 games will receive a large cash prize, but the players ask why they were kidnapped this way, and why the employees wear masks and hide their faces. One employee responds that it's to keep the game safe, and that the policy is for employees not to reveal their identities. However, at that moment, player number 333 wants his money to follow the cryptocurrency market and not lose his money. One employee speaks up, revealing that participant number 333 is named Mayung, 30 years old, and runs a YouTube channel convincing his subscribers to invest in digital currencies, causing them to lose 15 million won. His channel was shut down, and he disappeared because he was wanted for fraud and violating financial communication and investment laws with debts of 1.5 billion won. The employee then talks about player number 196, Mina Kang, who has debts of 45 million won. The employee continues discussing all the players, shocking everyone that one of them owes 10 billion won. The employee surprises them that the prize will be 45 billion won and informs them that after each game, there will be a vote on whether to continue the games. Seong is surprised because this means they can leave at any time and take the money they've earned. The players start signing their consent to start and participate in the game. Then player number 230, named Thanos, argues with Myung because he was one of the investors in the cryptocurrency Myung promoted, considering it a scam and losing everything. We learn that Thanos is a famous rapper, and during filming, a fan among the players wants to take a picture with him, but an employee stops them as it's against the game's rules. Suddenly, Seong is surprised by a friend named Jongbi, realizing he is participating in the game. Zhongbi is shocked that Xiong is alive because he thought he died after being missing for 3 years and heard his mother passed away. Zhongbi tells Xiong he divorced his wife and his son now lives with her. Xiong anxiously tells him he must stay close and not leave his side. Zhongbi is puzzled by his behavior. Meanwhile, Junho is tracking Xiong's location. We see him on the ship with Kim, searching for the location shown on the map until they reach an island in the sea, using a drone camera to pinpoint Xiong's location accurately. Suddenly, Kim reaches a fisherman standing on the shore fishing, shocked to find the tracking device from Xiong's tooth discarded among the bait. Kim contacts Junho to inform him of what happened. Meanwhile, we see the players on the field to start their first game. Red light, green light. Seong is puzzled by how Kim and Junho are late in reaching him. He sees the fake tooth he placed and realizes the tracking device was removed, shocked, and speaks to all the players, telling them this isn't just a game because if they lose, they will die. The game involves a doll detecting their movement during the red light, and if anyone moves, they will die. Everyone mocks him, thinking he's crazy, suspecting he's doing this to win the game and take the money. At that moment, the game begins, and the doll starts counting, watching for movement. Xiong decides to help the players since he has experienced this game and knows it well. At that moment, he asks Xiong to calm down because he is starting to scare him. At the same time, a bee lands on player Mina's neck, number 196. Out of fear, she moves and is shot in the head, dying. Xiong shouts to everyone not to move, to protect themselves, and not to speak. But due to the fear and panic that occurred, a large group of players moved, and one after another died. At that time, we discovered that Newell was one of the game employees and was responsible for killing those who lost. Nyeon's father became one of the players, and we saw the leader watching the game on the television screen. At that moment, everyone started believing what Xiong said and followed his instructions until some of them reached the finish line. When Xiong saw one of the players struggling and barely alive, he decided to return to help him. Player Hyun-soo, number 120, joined him, and they reached the finish line successfully. However, Yule killed the player they saved because he believed the player was weak and did not win through his own efforts. Xiong and Hyun-soo were shocked. After the game, the employees entered the players' area, causing them great fear. At that moment, one of the employees explained that they were not allowed to harm anyone. Xiong then reminded everyone of rule number 3 of the game, which states that if the majority votes to end the game, it will be terminated, and everyone can leave. Unfortunately, when the players saw the large sum of money accumulated from the deaths of 91 participants in the first game, greed overtook them, and they decided to proceed to the second game. The employees then conducted a vote, giving the players the freedom to choose. Xiong voted to end the game, but he noticed that the number of those agreeing to continue was increasing. He tried to reason with them, warning that continuing the game would lead to their deaths. The players grew angry at him for seemingly ordering them around without taking action himself. Jongbei defended Xiong, reminding them that without Xiong, they would have died in the first game. Xiong, overwhelmed and frustrated, revealed that he had participated in the same game 3 years ago, during which everyone who was with him died. He warned them that continuing would only lead to more deaths, but his words only fueled their greed for the money. Meanwhile, one of the employees threatened Xiong for delaying the voting process. When the vote ended in a tie, player 001 became the deciding vote and chose to continue the game. At that moment, it was revealed that player 001 was actually the leader, who looked at Xiong with a challenging gaze. The next day during lunch, the players asked Xiong about the second game. He informed them that it involved 4 shapes made of sugar candy, with the triangle being the easiest and the umbrella the hardest. Later, the leader, disguised as player 001, confronted Xiong, asking why he returned to the game after winning 45 million won. Xiong revealed that the money was not his. It belonged to everyone who had died in the game. At that moment, Thanos provoked Myung, demanding that he win the game to repay the money he lost because of him. An argument ensued, and Thanos physically attacked Myung. However, 001 intervened, stopping Thanos with such force that Thanos begged for mercy. The other players applauded 001 for putting Thanos in his place. That night, while everyone was asleep, 001 spoke to Xiong, revealing that his wife was gravely ill with liver failure and needed a transplant. He explained that he had struggled to find a donor and was forced to borrow money from a corrupt trader, which led to accusations of bribery and the loss of his job. He confessed that this game was his only hope to save his wife, even if the money he won would be stained with blood. Meanwhile, in the operating room, it was revealed that the employees were harvesting organs from the deceased players to sell them. They discovered that most of the organs were unusable due to the prolonged time since death. The supervisor was informed that someone had shot the victims twice to ensure their deaths. The culprit was identified as Employee 011, who turned out to be Newell. Confronting her, the supervisor expressed his initial sympathy for her when he hired her, giving her another chance. However, he reprimanded her for deviating from her assigned task, which was to relieve those suffering from despair. He angrily reminded her that the organs were meant to save others. Newell ignored him and walked away. Later, Junho went to the police station and asked his superior for help. However, his superior was angry with him for resigning without notice. Despite this, he tried to assist Junho, who, along with his superior, approached the police chief to request an investigation into the location of the Squid Game. The police chief dismissed him, stating that no case could be opened without evidence. He told Junho to return only when he had proof. Junho then met with Captain Park, who helped him search for the island where the game was taking place. Park shared information about Seong and the game. Meanwhile, a player named Jung-hee, who was secretly pregnant with Myung's child, joined the game. Myung was shocked to see her, as he had not noticed her before. Jung-hee revealed her pregnancy and her decision to keep the baby despite Myung's insistence on abortion. He expressed his happiness about the child, but their conversation was interrupted when the second game began. The players discovered that the second game required them to form teams of 5. Tensions rose as players accused Seong of lying about the nature of the game. 001 defended Seong and decided to join his team, which also included Jongbai and Dai. They were 1 player short, and a pregnant woman asked to join their team, pleading for help. At the same time, another player struggled to find a team because he was accompanied by his elderly mother. His mother urged him to leave her and join a team, but he refused to abandon her. Eventually, they found a team that was also short of members and joined them. The game began once all teams were formed, and the employees explained the rules. Mini-games. Each team member must play one of the games and win to secure their team's victory, but their legs will be tied together. Fear begins to show as they watch other teams fail and face death by gunfire. Staff members then collect the bodies in coffins. When Newell finds someone still alive, she shoots them in the head. The next rounds begin. Young-sik devises a clever strategy for walking backward to increase their speed and save time. Despite doubts about her ability due to her age, Young-sik's mother succeeds in her game, leading her team to victory. The final team, including Sung, also manages to win their games, although 001 fails twice, becomes frustrated, and starts hitting himself. Sung comforts and encourages him until he succeeds, allowing the team to win. However, they are shocked to see the previous team lose and die. Later, 2 staff members confront Newell in her room, angry about her improper handling of corpses, which renders the bodies unsuitable for organ sales. She tries to fight back and escape, but they catch her, slash her face with a knife, and threaten to cut off her fingers if she makes another mistake. The staff then inform the players that the prize money has reached 20 billion won, angering them as the amount seems small despite 110 players dying in the second game. The staff announced that players can vote again to either continue or stop the game. 001 votes to stop, while Young-sik votes to continue, shocking his mother. 001 notices that many players want to continue despite witnessing deaths and angrily questions their decision. The vote ends in favor of continuing, leaving Sung feeling hopeless. Young-sik tries to reconcile with his mother, explaining that his debts forced him to vote for continuing. His mother sadly warns him that someone might die in the third game. Meanwhile, Jong attempts to convince Sung and the rest of the team to continue, arguing that they need the money to pay off their debts. Sung counters, expressing concern that they might have to kill each other in the third game. At night, Sung ensures his team's safety by staying alert, fearing players might kill each other, as had happened before. 11 questions Sung's excessive caution, but Sung organizes a watch rotation to ensure everyone's safety. The next day, Young-sik's mother persuades the staff to let her and Jong-hee use the restroom. When Jong-hee takes too long, Young-sik's mother grows worried and checks on her, finding her crying out of fear. Later, Jong-ho gathers 2 teams, one led by Captain Park and the other by Captain Ko, and tells Park they must find the island before nightfall, as the game will end otherwise. The third game begins, involving a platform that announces numbers. Players must form groups matching the announced number and enter rooms within 30 seconds. The platform spins and stops, announcing the number 10. Players scramble to form teams of 10 and rush into the rooms. Sung witnesses players who fail being executed, leaving him distraught. When the number 3 is announced, 2 players pull Young-sik away from his mother. Sung and 001 take his mother into their group. 001 asks Young-sik's mother about her son, and she angrily defends him, describing his kind heart. Young-sik feels devastated for leaving his mother behind and tries to console her. In the next round, Young-sik's mother enters a room in place of Young-mi, who loses and dies, leaving the team heartbroken. In the following round, Zhongbi ends up in the same room as 001. Since their room has one extra person, 001 violently kills the extra player, shocking Zhongbi. After the game, the staff announce another vote to decide whether to continue before the fourth game. Sung feels hopeful as more players vote to stop, but Zhongbi grows suspicious of 001, who ultimately votes to continue, leading to a tie. The staff declare a revote after giving players time to reconsider. Thanos tries to convince a player from Sung's team to change their vote and continue. Mi Young intervenes, leading to a heated argument. Thanos provokes Mi Young by mentioning Zhong-He, and a violent fight ensues. Mi Young stabs Thanos in the chin and neck with a sharp object. Meanwhile, Jong-Ho and Captain Kim discover a booby-trapped door on an island. When they try to open it, a bomb explodes, forcing them to retreat to the ship. Jong-Ho realizes the game organizers are tracking their movements and setting traps everywhere. John decides that they should stop using mobile phones and switch to walkie-talkies instead. Meanwhile, Myung is breaking down and terrified because of the killings. He locks himself in the bathroom. At the same time, we see all the players fighting and attacking each other, with some becoming so desperate that they start killing anyone who crosses their path. The staff stand motionless by the bathroom door, allowing the players to kill each other. We then see a division among the players, those who refuse to continue the game and those determined to move forward. Each group strategizes to win the vote. At this point, Seong suggests fighting the staff and taking their weapons. He observes that the staff outnumber them and are heavily armed. Seong proposes one last chance to stop the game and end it. While this is happening, some players hide under the beds to avoid the group that wants to continue the game. The situation escalates into a violent struggle, with players killing each other without hesitation. Seong hides under a bed, waiting for the staff to intervene, knowing that too many deaths would jeopardize the continuation of the game. Eventually, the staff enter and intimidate everyone with their weapons. Seong pretends to be dead to ambush the staff, and Jung-Bai follows his lead. They manage to seize weapons from the staff and launch an attack, driving the supervisor into a frenzy. The supervisor orders the staff to retreat and lock the doors, but Seong and his allies capture some of them. Seong prevents one of his allies from killing the group that wanted to continue the game, despite their earlier violence. Seong and his group destroy the surveillance cameras and address the remaining players, urging them to rise against the game organizers. Jung-Bae also speaks, admitting his fear but emphasizing this as their only chance to escape. Gradually, the players join Seong. Seong forces the captured staff to remove their masks and reveal their identities. They take one staff member hostage to lead them to the game organizers. Suddenly, armed staff attack, firing at them. The guide warns the staff not to let the players approach the management area, but Seong and his group manage to escape. The hostage leads them to the administration area, where they discover they must wear masks to bypass the security system. Suddenly, a bullet hits the hostage in the head, forcing Seong and his group to hide. They retaliate, seizing the mask from the fallen staff member. Seong and Jung-Bai search for the administration area but find nothing. Seong puts on the mask in front of a camera, triggering a door to open to the administration area. Meanwhile, the supervisor watches them through the surveillance cameras and orders the staff to capture them. When the staff confront Seong and Jung-Bai, the two fight back courageously, taking weapons from the fallen staff. At the same time, player 001 looks into a camera and joins Seong and Jung-Bai, bringing them extra ammunition. As the gunfire intensifies, player 001 becomes frightened, decides to retreat, and discards his walkie-talkie, ignoring his teammates' calls. As 001 moves away from Xiong, he kills the two players accompanying him. He contacts Xiong through the walkie-talkie, declaring the end of everything. Xiong hears the gunshots and the sound of a player dying, leaving him shocked and confused. Meanwhile, Kim hears a strange noise and asks Park about it, but Park lies, claiming it was the sound of waves. Many players are injured, and the situation deteriorates. One player decides to commit suicide, prompting Seong to announce their surrender. However, the staff kill the surrendering players immediately. Seong and Jung-Bai also decide to surrender, feeling helpless. The leader, wearing a black mask, appears and shoots Jung-Bai in front of Seong, blaming him for the consequences of his mistakes. Seong collapses in grief, screaming and crying in anguish. The series ends on an open note, hinting at a third season, though no official announcement has been made yet. Fans are left wondering what will happen next. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification